In this video, we're going to check out the TicWatch Pro 4G LTE version by mobvoi. Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome to Tech with Brett, where I help tech work for you. mobvoi reached out to me and asked if I wanted to try out their TicWatch Pro 4G LTE version as well. I recently just tried out the TicWatch S2 and was really impressed by it, and so I'm really interested to try out the Wear OS version that works on LTE or 4G. So here on the box, we can see it's a premium smartwatch. It has a dual layered display, works on cellular network. It has a 2 to 30 day battery life, GPS and health sensors. And then here on the back, we have a few more things. So we have Wear OS by Google, GPS tracker. Now this is IP68 water and dust resistant compared to the 5 atmospheres on the TicWatch S2 that I tried. This does have a speaker, cellular network, heart rate tracking. It does support Google Pay NFC payments, Google Assistant built in, and 1,000 different watch faces. And then inside the box, you have the watch as well as the USB charging dock and the user manual. So let's get this set up here. So really like the look of that. So in the box here, we also have the manual as well as the charger. I do wish it was Qi compatible, which would be really nice, but it is not. And then here you can see the watch. There's just a quick comparison between the TicWatch S2 that I've been using. I really like the premium feel of this. It does have a little more weight to it, and the band feels a little bit more premium, more like what I was used to on the Samsung Galaxy Gear Sport. So let's get this set up. I'm gonna go activate it at Verizon and we're gonna try it out. So come to find out, I'm not able to activate this yet on Verizon. So today I'm gonna go over some of the changes that are on the TicWatch Pro, as well as some of the updates and some of my favorite things that it can do. So very first, let's talk about the charging situation on the TicWatch Pro. So here it snaps right onto its proprietary charger. Now this is specific to the TicWatch Pro. It does not work with the S2. And you can see that on the side here, the buttons fit right in between there. So it does fit on with no problem. And it was pretty easy to find and drop on there every night. So starting off, let me talk about the dual layer display. So right now on the TicWatch Pro, that's something that's really unique to this device. So here on the outside, it always displays the time. You have the date, you have your steps, as well as you have a battery life indicator down here, and I'm at about 80%. Now I have really enjoyed using this instead of like the always on display that you would typically see, because I feel like that does drain a little bit more battery life, even though it's an AMOLED display. I really like having this option because it's always there and I don't even have to wake up my device to be able to see the time. So one of the things that this doesn't work great at is if there is no light. So I went camping, turned on the essentials mode, which I'll talk about in a minute. If there is no light, it is very hard to see this display. It works really great in the daytime, but not so much at night. So now let's go into the device. Now you can do that a few ways. One, you could tilt your wrist. You could also just double tap on the screen to wake up the device. And then here it goes to our main screen. Now just a quick overview on Wear OS. You have your Google Assistant here to the left, which works really well. And then you have your tiles over here to the right. So tiles, I can show my TicWatch tile where it shows my steps. Here I have a timer tile. I can set up this other, which is the TicWatch Pulse, so it's measuring my heart rate. And then over here, we can have different events from our calendar show up. Now, one of the changes is here when you pull this down, there's a few new options and a few different updates. So here we have the airplane mode. We have sound mode. So if we tap on that, we can turn the sound off. There is a speaker down here on the bottom. If we tap it again, it will turn the sound back on. So that's really nice. If maybe you're somewhere and you don't want any sound to come on, you can quickly turn it off. Here we have Find My Phone. So if you can't find your phone, you just quickly press that button to find it. Here we have Google Pay. So I can tap on that and it will quickly open my Google Pay. Here we have the off screen. So at night, maybe I don't want the screen to brighten up at all. I can tap that and then it will lock my screen. So even if I try to wake it up, it does not do that. And then I can go back into the device. And then last here we have the do not disturb mode. And at the bottom here, it shows it's connected via Bluetooth and my battery life is at 83%. Now, when this does connect to LTE, you will see another indicator there as well. So now let's go into the button functions. So right here, we have the back button just by pressing that. If we press it again, that will open our apps. So here you can see all the applications that I have, and it's very smooth to scroll through these, as you can see. And if you want to make one of these apps one of your favorites, all you would need to do is hold down on it and it takes it to the top and stars it. If you want to remove it from the starred category, you hold down and it takes it right back. So there are quite a few apps available. One really interesting thing is I was using the Nest app to control my Nest thermostat, but that actually lost support this week. So I don't know why that app has lost support, if they're making a different one, but even as a Google app, it kind of died. So hopefully that doesn't happen with more apps and that more apps will continually be added into this. One thing I really like is that when I download an app on my phone, it will actually give me a notification over here saying, hey, there's a compatible app. Why don't you download it on your Wear OS device? So that was really neat. So that's the apps section. And then if we hold this button down, it's actually going to open our Google Assistant. So then we can speak our request and do that. So then down here, this button has 3 different functions. So if I press it once, it's going to open the TicExercise app. So I could quickly start an exercise there. If I double tap it, it's actually going to open my Google Pay. So there I can quickly pay with NFC, which I have loved having here on the watch. And then if I long press, this will actually open the menu where I can turn on SOS. So I could send out an SOS message. I could do essential mode, or I can restart the device, power off, or customize that button when I push it once. So if maybe I want Google Pay to open with one press, or I want another app, like I found this app called Wear Codes, where I can have my gym membership barcode on there. So I could open that out also just by one push. So now let's go into the essential mode, as that is something that is very important about this device. So here it's stating it's going to extend the battery, and to get out of essential mode, you need to press and hold the power key until the booting screen appear. So now it just takes a second to go into essential mode, and here we are. So the watch has completely turned off. So if I press these buttons, it will no longer go into those settings there. And so you can see the screen works really well. Just sometimes you have to kind of get in the right lighting to be able to see all the content on the screen. So then here on the bottom, if I press this button, it will take my heart rate. So that's really one of the only functions you have in the essential mode, different from what you see on the watch face. So here you can see I have 95, a little high, but that's okay. But then I still have the time, I have the date, and then I have my steps, which is really nice. And it will count those steps in the TicExercise app, as well as I believe on the Google Fit application as well. And then I will still see my battery. So I use this for 2 full days in the essential mode, and my battery barely went down. It was really awesome to see. After a few days, I only lost a few percentages there. So if you are looking for a watch where it still works as a watch and you have excellent battery life, this is something really cool to look at because you have this essential mode. So then if I want to remove myself from the essential mode, all I need to do is hold down the power button until the device resets, and then I am ready to go. And then once it resets, I'll have access to all of my notifications. It will connect to my phone again because it turned off the Bluetooth when it's in essential mode. And then I will also have access to all my fitness tracking apps and everything else. Now there is one more thing that you can do on this screen. So if you have the TicExercise app, automatically do fitness tracking. So whenever I get on the treadmill, it will automatically start tracking my run, and it will actually show that information here on the display, which I really like. So I don't have to wake up the watch. I can still see all that information right here. Now, the last thing I want to talk about on the display or the screen is maybe it's because I'm using this mode, but I feel like this does get a little more dirty than I've seen on other watches. So I feel like I have to wipe it off often, or there's just a lot more smudges than I've seen in the past. Now I can go into the settings of the watch, and I can go into the display settings, and I can adjust the always on the screen. So maybe I don't want that essential clock to be on there. I can set it up where here on the always on display, it just shows the regular watch mode. And so then the screen is on, it's using a little bit more battery, but you may get a little more details depending on what watch face you use, because this is different for every watch face. So now let's talk about the overall performance of the device. So with the TicWatch Pro, you have 1 gig of RAM, which is a huge improvement over the TicWatch S2. I found that every time I went into the application section, scrolling through these apps, it was solid in its performance. If I went into Google Play, if I wanted to browse, everything worked really well. On the TicWatch S2, I actually had a lot of times where it just kind of stopped and nothing was loading. It didn't even show it was loading for a little while, and then it randomly popped up. But here I didn't see that screen at all. I know there was a recent update as soon as I got this, so that's really helpful. Now it's really great to have that better performance on the watch. Everything worked well. Anything I tried, I had no issues doing. And then one thing I didn't show is down here you do have your notifications, so you can scroll through those, you can swipe them away and clear them, or you can hold down and block them. But it's really nice to have all these notifications, and tapping on many of them will give you lots of options to respond to your messages. So it's easy to use this without having to pick up your phone. So next, let's talk about battery. So you can see it's almost 2 p.m. here, and I'm currently at 80%. I found that this has much better battery life. By the end of the day, I was more around the 35 to 40% range. So you could use this more as a 2-day watch if you wanted to. If maybe you turned it off at night or turned it on the essential mode, it would last a lot longer. And then even if I was more active or got a lot of steps from one day to the other, I still had that really good battery life. So that was one thing that I felt really improved from the S2. Now, one reason I mentioned before, I like Wear OS because of the Play Store. So even though it doesn't have every app that's in the Play Store, you have a lot more applications than you would before. So here I can download eBay. I could download Facebook Messenger if I wanted to use those. And there are just a lot of applications that I'm used to using on my phone that I have over on here, and something I'm used to on Android. And because I'm an Android user, I'm using a lot of the Google applications. So I can get Google Keep on here and a lot of other apps that are just really nice to have. Now next, let's talk about some of the gesture options that you have with the Pro. So if we go into the settings here, down here we have gestures. So there are a few different ones you can use. One, you can use tilt to wake. So if you want to see the device, you just tilt it and it will wake up. Here you have touch to wake. So at any time I can tap the screen and it will wake up. Then we have wrist gestures. So these are really interesting. So at a lot of times, maybe you want to use or scroll through information without having to touch the watch. Well, you can actually do that. So there are a few different things you can do. First, you can actually scroll up. So if I want to scroll up and see my notifications, all I need to do is flick my wrist up. Or if I want to scroll down, I can flick my wrist down. And you can do that as many times as you want until it can stop scrolling. And then the other option is you just shake your wrist and it will go to the home page. Or if you want to go into your apps on the home page, you shake your wrist and it will go into the apps. Now, at first, these actually hurt my wrist trying to shake and trying to use them. Now, there was actually a few times where I ended up just flicking my wrist up to open up the notification drawer so that I could quickly get into my notifications and read them without having to touch the device, which was really nice to have. Now, one thing I really like is being able to use Google Pay right on my watch without having to even go to my phone. So again, you double tap down here and it will open up the application, and then you would just tap this to the NFC reader. Now, compared to some of the Samsung watches, they have NFC and MST. So that means you are actually able to use it in more places, but pretty much everywhere I wanted to pay for anything, it had an NFC reader, and I was able to use this to pay, and it worked really well. Now let's talk about using Google Assistant. So I've showed you a few ways to activate it. Here you can hold down the top button to activate Google Assistant. You can also swipe over and touch the screen. Here you do have some information. You could quickly do a Google search or show reminders or some different information. So I really want to be able to have a great experience of using Google Assistant on the watch without having to touch the screen. Okay, Google, turn off the office lights.
Sure, turning 12 lights off.
All right, so there it did it, and it gave the response here on the watch. And then I could just tap to do it again, but one of the problems is that you can't activate again by voice. Okay, Google. It just doesn't activate like it would on any other Google device. So I'm not sure why that functionality isn't here. Turn on the office lights.
You got it, turning 12 lights on.
So there, it worked just fine after tapping on it, but I don't know why it doesn't have the option when you are in the Google Assistant application to keep listening to your voice or to have that continued conversation mode. Now that's really not a problem with the TicWatch Pro, that's more of a Wear OS problem, and so hopefully that is fixed in the future. So even after going into the settings here, you can see that I only have the OK Google detection on and the speech output, so I have both of those. If you don't want it to talk through here, you could turn that off. So it works with Google Assistant really well, except for the fact that I can't just keep activating it and talking to it. So lastly, let's test out the speaker. I'll do a full phone call test when I have the LTE version, but right now let's just play some music. Now, when I open Google Play Music, it does ask if I want to connect to headphones, but today we're going to connect right with the watch. So here you can see I have my play controls. I can skip the song, I can like the song, and then here I can choose the volume and I can tap to turn it down or turn it up. So you're probably not going to be using this speaker much, maybe just for Google Assistant responses and for a phone call here and there. Music isn't the best coming out here. Definitely check out some Galaxy Buds to pair with this, but that is how the speaker sounds. So one thing I found interesting is that when you try and answer a phone call on the watch, it actually defaults over to the phone. So I don't know if there's a setting to change that, but I couldn't actually answer any calls over here on the watch. I was able to test out the TicWatch Pro in the water. Now, even though it's IP68 certified, which is not as water resistant as the other TicWatch S2, it had no issues going in water. So if I actually go into the Tic Health application, I can come over here and see my walking, running. Let's see, so here was pole swimming. So I did have to turn this on when I wanted to go swimming, but here it actually gave out some pretty cool statistics. So even though I was only in the water for 5 minutes, I swam 250 meters, I did 10 laps, and pretty good tracking. That's just exactly what I did in a 25-meter pool. And then here it also tracked the strokes I did. So I did 25 meters of freestyle, 200 meters of breaststroke, and then 25 meters of backstroke, where that wasn't as accurate. I don't know what I was exactly doing, but I didn't do the backstroke. But I'd say it did a pretty good job in detecting the different workouts that I was doing. And after 5 minutes, I was completely exhausted. So good job to all you swimmers out there that have a lot more endurance. And then for the watch faces, there are tons of different applications you can download or different watch faces that are available. If you don't like something showing up here, you can just swipe it away so only your favorite watch faces are there. And then I can tap to go and see more watch faces that I may want to use. Now the TicWatch Pro does have an ambient sensor, which I really like. So instead of me having to go up here and adjust the brightness, it would just automatically do it. If I want to adjust the brightness, I can go in here and manually adjust it, but right now I have it set to automatic and it has worked really well. The watch face is very bright at night. It gets nice and dim. Now there is the option to turn off the screen, which I really like if you're at the movies or something and you want to have the screen completely off and not wake up just by flipping your wrist. After using the TicWatch Pro for the last few weeks, I've actually been very impressed with how the TicWatch Pro works. Now, if this was the first experience that anyone has with Wear OS, it's going to be very positive, very smooth, just like I experienced using my Gear Sport. Even after a few years, this now has that capability. The TicWatch S2 that I checked out before was pretty lacking in its fluidity or its ability to keep up with all the applications and all the things that I want to do, but the Pro had none of those issues. If you are in the market for a new smartwatch that runs Wear OS and has LTE capability, definitely check out the TicWatch Pro. This is able to keep up with all of the other smartwatches of today. Now, let me know if you would like to see a full comparison of this versus other Galaxy watches, and I can definitely check out doing that for the future. If you have any other questions, please let me know in the comments down below. And if you would like to see other wearable tech or check out the TicWatch S2 review, make sure you check out the videos over here on the side. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.